Hey, this is Antonio. Welcome back to my channel. Who's ready for some fighting words? So in this video, I want to talk about what's next for David Benavidez. Really quick, if you like the channel, I hope that you like the videos, but I also hope that you subscribe to the channel. And I also hope that you tell a friend. Channel is growing and there's a lot of more things that I would like to do, but it takes your effort as well in terms of subscribing. So I hope that you do. Hope that once again that you tell a friend of a friend of a friend of a friend. And let's get back to this video. So what's next for David Benavidez? So first I want to say congratulations to David Benavidez on his win over David Lemieux. Let me say what that fight was, and let me say, one, that was a stay busy fight, as I've been saying the whole time. I don't think it was a shocker that Benavidez ran through David Lemieux. I'm sorry. And I try to be as objective as I possibly can, but I got to be honest and I got to, call a spade a spade. Now, did he look amazing? He looked absolutely amazing. However, they're saying, Charlo's scared and all these things. Listen, Jermall Charlo would have ran through David Lemieux as well. The only difference is it probably would have been, 2 more rounds. So it would have been like round 5, maybe round 6, but he would have done the same thing. David Benavidez is just a big guy, and he's like a juggernaut. He kind of just walks through the pain. He's going to be there to take the pain, but you better believe he's going to dish it back out. And if you're not man enough or strong enough to take it when he's dishing it back out, you are going to succumb to the speed, the power, the fluid combinations, and just that overall onslaught that he brings. Simple as that. I said it, in my prediction video that David Lemieux isn't a guy who knows how to get out of the way. And when in doubt, David Lemieux is going to David Lemieux the situation. That means he's going to just try to punch harder and try to continue going straight through the front door when he probably should be sliding through the window. That's it. And it was a perfect fight for David Benavidez. And like I said, I'm happy for his win. But the reality is Charlo would have done the same thing to him. It just probably would have been round 5 or 6 because Charlo he's just a good boxer. He doesn't want to take punishment he doesn't have to take, and David Lemieux would have been perfectly set up for Charlo as well. Also, Demetrius Andrade would have done the same thing to David Lemieux. Only difference is it probably would have been, round 9 or 10 that he finished him off. But he would have done the same thing to David Lemieux. So, I continually am throwing this name in the pot because I think people keep forgetting about him. Chris Eubank Jr. would have done the same thing to David Lemieux, and it probably would have been round 3 or 4 because he is that aggressive. He is that fast. So, you see what he did in his last fight, one arm. Like, imagine what he would do with David Lemieux. Sorry. But it was a great fight overall. Listen, Caleb Plant would have done the same thing to David Lemieux, okay? Caleb Plant, now, he would have won by decision, but the rounds would have been like 10-7 from round 1 to 12. It would have been like a complete and absolute blowout, So you see what Billy Joe Saunders did with David Lemieux. He made him look silly. Caleb Plant would have done just that in an even more impressive fashion with a lot more punches in the interim. So was it a great performance? Absolutely. Did we see why they call him the Mexican Monster? Absolutely. But let's not take this fight out of context. All those other guys in the division would have done the same thing to David Lemieux. So that being said, what's next for David Lemieux? Well, I would tell you right now what I would like, but I'll also tell you if I were David Benavidez, I would be looking at either Demetrius Andrade or Caleb Plant. Just because they would be much, 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 much easier fights to make than Charlo. Or, if you could, I would throw out a Chris Eubank. I really do. I really don't understand why people leave his name out because he slides back and forth between 60 and 68. So it's not a problem for him to he could do either one, honestly. So when we talk all these names in the division for Canelo and all these other guys, we got to mention Chris Eubank Jr. But that's neither here nor there. This video is about David Benavidez. The reason why I say Demetrius Andrade is because he's been starving for a big name fight. And this would be right up his alley. And trust me, there would be zero pushback if David Benavidez was like, yeah, I want to fight you. There would be zero pushback. I'm pretty sure, I'm almost 110% sure that Demetrius Andrade would jump at the opportunity to fight David Benavidez for two reasons. One, because it would literally solidify him in the division, because everybody keeps saying, well, you're not fighting anybody. So it would, one, solidify him in the division. But two, and probably more importantly, it would be the bridge to allow him to cross the street. So that's why I'm pretty sure it wouldn't be anything to Demetrius Andrade. He would love the opportunity to be called out, because he knows now if he calls a guy out, probably nothing's going to happen. But if they call him out, there's something behind that. And more than likely, something will come of it. Now, the other name would be Caleb Plant. And I think it benefits Caleb Plant. Now, granted, it's very dangerous for Caleb Plant to fight David Benavidez, but it's very beneficial also for Caleb Plant to fight David Benavidez, because the reality is he's coming off a loss. You're never going to see Canelo in the ring again, ever. Like, unless you can clip off a few of these dudes and you climb and fight your way back to that position. You're not going to see him again. That's the only way. And right now, that route begins with David Benavidez. I mean, possibly the Charlo fight would be a little easier for him as well, but more than likely it's David Benavidez. And it would benefit David Benavidez. Number one, I feel like if he could catch him, he could beat, Caleb Plant. And I feel like if Caleb Plant were to fight David Benavidez, he would literally have no other choice but to fight like the Caleb Plant of old and be on the bike all night long and pot shotting and, just being really creative with his jab, and just trying to frustrate David Benavidez. Because honestly, it would be a test of his mental. It's not going to be a test of David Benavidez physically, because we know what physically he can do. He's just going to walk right through you. Like I said, the Mexican Monster, I don't think is the most accurate name. I would say more like the Mexican Juggernaut. That's more accurate, I feel. And, it's potentially a dangerous fight for David Benavidez, because granted, Caleb Plant is not there to slug with anybody. And in order for David Benavidez to do his David Benavidez thing, would have to take the other competitor to want to slug it out a little bit or stand his ground. And we all know Caleb Plant ain't about to stand his ground, especially with David Benavidez. So those are the two names that I think would match best for David Benavidez. Yeah, of course, we'd all love to see a Charlo fight, but I think inevitably we will see that. And I think it would take Benavidez to go through two guys, because Charlo hates Andrade, so that's probably not going to happen. And I think he's not afraid of Andrade. I just think he would do it out of spite. I'm not going to help you make money. I just really think it's that simple for him. And Caleb Plant, Charlo, that would be fun, but I think Charlo's way too athletic for Caleb Plant. Caleb Plant, I think, would match up really well with David Benavidez, because Benavidez doesn't move his legs that much. But he's going to have to if he's going to catch Caleb Plant, because that's the only way. I mean, he's literally going to have to catch Caleb Plant if they were to fight. And then you would have Caleb Plant. If he plans on winning, he's going to have to be on that bicycle. He's going to be on that 10-speed all night long, because I know he's not stopping for gas. He's not stopping for anything. He's not going to stop for a water break or anything like that. So, those are the two names that I would definitely, if I were David Benavidez, or if I were in a camp, I would say go after those two, because those are the two who are going to give you the least pushback. Caleb Plant doesn't have I'm not going to say a leg to stand on, but he's coming off of a loss. He understands I'm the B fighter in this situation, in this scenario. So there's not going to be a lot of pushback. Pretty much whatever, David says is what's going to go. And I think it would benefit him, and it really does put him back in the mix, because if he wins, he not only is back in the mix, but he might even be in the driver's seat in the mix. So there you have it. I think those are the two names. I think Demetrius Andrade, and I also think Caleb Plant would be best for David Benavidez next. But tell me what you think. Drop your comments down below. I'd like to hear what you have to say. Do you think Demetrius Andrade would be a better fight for David Benavidez, or do you think Caleb Plant? Or are you one of the hopefuls who are believing that he